So much for joining. I can't wait to dive into all of this content. It's a really, really great topic. We have a really in-depth program planned, so I can't wait to get into it. With everyone on the call now, I want to give folks just a few more minutes to join here since I started us right up here. So if everyone, while we wait, could go ahead and put into the question box in the question box feature and go to webinar where you're calling in from today. I just want to make sure that everyone is able to use the GoToWebinar question box feature throughout today's presentation. So as we wait for folks to join, go ahead and type into that where you're calling in from today. One of the best things about these webinars is they connect people from all different corners of the world to sit in on the same presentation. So for example, I'm based out of Boston, Massachusetts. I love it up here, born and raised in the area. So I'll call out some of the answers here. We have tons of people already putting in where they're calling in from today. We have Rod from York, Pennsylvania. Hello. Don from Dallas. Welcome, Don. We have another Don up here. Wow, tons of responses coming in. We have Alyssa from St. Louis. Welcome. Nick from Cincinnati. Welcome. We have Jake from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Welcome. Beautiful. Tons of responses here. We have some folks from Canada, Emily from Salt Lake City, Utah, Tyrell from Alberta, Timothy from Edmonton, Canada, welcome. Allison from Southern New Hampshire, hey there, Allison. Beautiful. Lori from New York, welcome, Lori. Jennifer from Charlotte, North Carolina, Dan from Oklahoma City, Carly from Jasper, Georgia, welcome. We have Caitlin, Texas, from Texas, and it's also her birthday. Happy birthday, Caitlin. We have Nanette from Boston. Hello, Nanette, not far from me. I'm also in Boston. Wonderful. Laura from Scottsdale, Arizona. Welcome. Megan from Woodstock, Virginia says she's glad to be here. I'm so happy to hear that. Bill from LA. Welcome. Evelyn from Vancouver, Canada. Welcome. Tons of responses coming in. As you noticed, I didn't say a ton of the same locations. There's so many different folks on today with so many calling in from so many different places. And I just think that's a really beautiful thing with these webinars. So I love to just warm us up with that. Thank you all for participating. I wish I could call out every single one of you, but again, just want to make sure that you're able to use that question box feature. So great. So with that being said, I'm going to jump into a few housekeeping items for today's webinar. So I already saw this come into the question box a couple of times. So for everyone on this call today, please note that this will be recorded. So don't worry about taking notes or anything like that. We will record the entire presentation. You'll be able to see it with materials in your inbox later today. Also, please note that all of our webinar recordings are easily found on the Local IQ and WordStream YouTube channels. So if you missed any of our past webinars and want to check those out, or again, want to run this one back, you can just hop over to YouTube as well and find our webinar recordings right on those channels. Also, the reason why I had you all type in where you're from in the question box today is because I want you to feel comfortable using that question box throughout the webinar. We don't have a chat feature. This is essentially your chat feature, so I'll be able to see the questions that you put in there. So be sure to input your questions throughout. I'll be seeing them as they come in, and then save some questions for the end if you'd like for the Q&A session. If you've attended any of our past webinars, you know that I love the Q&A sessions. They're super in-depth. It's kind of a unique experience to just kind of get your questions answered in a one-on-one type of feel in those sessions. So we'll save some time at the end of the presentation for that as well. So for all of us on the call today, some of you might already be familiar with Local IQ, which is wonderful. Some of you might already be working with us, which is even better. Some of you might be totally new, and that's great too, and welcome. And some of you might be familiar or working with our sister brands, Reach Local and WordStream. So for everyone on the call today, I want to just get us on the same page as to who Local IQ is. And essentially, Local IQ is a fully integrated growth marketing platform that marries innovative technology and unparalleled expertise to give your business the tools that it needs to prosper and thrive. So how exactly do we do that? Well, at the core of our business model is technology. So we combine top-notch and proprietary AI optimization technology informed by data of over 1 million Local IQ campaigns that we've ran to give you the peace of mind that your campaigns are always running on full 4 cylinders. And then we also give you tools at your fingertips to put time back into your day so that you can cut down on your marketing time and put more time into managing and running your business. And we've also been in the marketing game for a really long time. We've been in digital marketing for over 15 years. Some of you may have saw that yesterday was Google's 25th birthday. So to say that we've been in the game for over half of Google's life is pretty crazy. If you think about the age of digital marketing, it's really not much older than that. So we've been through it all. We've seen all the platform changes and updates, and we're here today to use that expertise and that experience to provide you with the best solutions possible. One thing that I do want to hit on before we move on is that LocalIQ is a premier partner in all of the major advertising platforms. This is something we're really proud of. It's not just given to any sort of marketing platform or agency out there. We have to maintain a rigorous set of requirements, so maximizing campaign success for all of our clients, demonstrating clear expertise and thought leadership in the digital marketing space, and again, hitting some very specific requirements so that we can maintain this badge. And a little bit about me, the person that's been talking to you for the last few minutes here. I am Susie. I am your webinar host and facilitator and speaker for today. It's wonderful to meet you all. And again, thank you so much for being here with me. Give yourselves a pat on the back, honestly, for taking the time out of your day to try and make your marketing even better. So a little bit about me. I am a senior content marketing specialist over at LocalIQ, where I write educational content on anything under the digital marketing, from AI to SEO to Google Ads to all sorts of different practices and tactics. I have written about it, so definitely check out my articles on the LocalIQ and WordStream blogs. How I got into this position was I formerly was a digital marketing consultant over at WordStream, where I was coaching businesses of all shapes and sizes through the day-to-day best practices on major platforms like Facebook ads, Google ads, and things like that. So I took that real life expertise and applied it to the educational content that I write across the sites today. A fun fact about me, which I mentioned earlier, is I'm based out of Boston, and kind of an unpopular opinion I have. I love the winter. It's my favorite season. So I'm really looking forward to the weather getting a little bit colder in these coming months. I love to go snowboarding on the weekends when I'm not at work. So that's a little bit about me. You can follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter, where I share out all of the major news, things about my articles, any sort of upcoming webinars, things like that. A common question that we get asked a lot in these webinars is, where can you find out more about the topics that we cover here in these types of presentations? Where can you learn about upcoming webinars? Where can you learn about platform updates, news, things like that? Definitely check out our blogs. We cover all the topics that we cover here, super in depth on those pages. So just head to our website. You can find our blogs right from there. So if you ever feel like you need to marinate or sit with the topic that we discussed here and take a little bit more time with it, definitely head over there. And be sure to follow us on all of the major social media platforms. We share out updates, any sort of major news advertisers and businesses should be aware of. We also share out news on upcoming webinars if you want to join more of these in the future and things like that. So definitely check us out. Great, so if you've attended any of our past webinars, you know I love to keep all our attendees on their toes. So I want to warm you all up with just a little question. So I want you to type into that question box again. You know, how has your experience with AI been so far? Have you tried it out at all in your marketing or just in your business practices in general? Are you worried about it for any sort of specific reason? Do you feel comfortable with AI or not comfortable? Totally fine. I'll call out some of the responses that we get in here. But just know that this webinar is meant to meet folks at all different levels. So whether you're an advanced marketer and you've got it down pat and use AI all the time, or you're totally new to the concept of AI and aren't really sure where to start, I'll try and make this as applicable as possible across the board for that. So calling out some of our responses here, Dan says he has no experience and Jeff says he has no experience yet. Understandable. Alyssa says she's using ChatGPT to write video scripts and blogs. Wonderful. Kirk says he's looking forward to using it more for search engine marketing. Definitely. Nick says it's going pretty good. They use it to generate content. Definitely. Randy says he's comfortable, but still working with it a little bit more. Totally. Heather says she's used it occasionally, still learning how to prompt results. We have tons of prompts on our blog, and I'll talk about that a little bit today. Definitely a good point. Martha has used it for some graphic development. Love that idea. She says it's good for coming up with ad copy. Definitely a good use case for it as well. So if you notice in some of the responses that I called out here, and I wish I could call out each and every one of them, especially, thanks for participating in that. But if you notice, a lot of the answers that I called out are in totally different stages of the AI experience, right? So some folks have a lot of experience with it already. They're already implementing it in their marketing, and some are totally new and haven't used it at all. And so my point of this exercise is I want you all to keep in mind that although I'll try and make this webinar as applicable across the board as I can for all of the folks in different levels with AI and marketing, I want you to know that your situation is unique. No two answers of this question were the same. And so everyone has their own unique situation and specific business needs and goals that you'll want to keep in mind when I'm talking about the concepts that I'm going to go through today. So think about how you can tailor a lot of the ideas that I'm talking about to your own unique situation, because of course everyone's going to have specific needs and be at different stages, and that's okay. So what we're going to walk through today, we're just going to do kind of a run through of where AI is today. I think it is it's a really big umbrella term for a lot of that is going on in the digital marketing space. So we'll just talk about, some quick data and statistics that I think everyone on this call should know, any core terms that you want to be familiar with when you're implementing AI, things like that. And then I am the type of person, and I know everyone has a different opinion on this, I like to get bad news over with first. So when I was structuring out this presentation, I was, thinking about the good and the bad when it comes to AI, right? So obviously there's two sides of the coin here. So I figured I'd get over the bad news first, and we're going to go into some of the risks that are involved with using AI and how you can overcome some of those. So we'll get that out of the way, and then we'll move on to the pros here, some exciting things about AI, ways that you can use it to your advantage, and how it can be really helpful for your business. And then I'll end you all with some thought starters, some key takeaways, just so that you feel like you have some clear action items to walk away with, and then we'll jump into the Q&A. So let's just quickly do a recap, a refresh for everyone on this call to get us on the same page as what it means when I'm talking about AI and marketing. So for everyone on this call, if you're not totally familiar with AI, that's all right. So of course, it just stands for artificial intelligence, which is basically just another way to say machine learning. So it's basically just crunching tons of data, tons of different algorithms, crunching immense amounts of data to spit back results for whatever tool for AI that you might be using. Using AI in marketing basically means that you're taking that machine learning, those types of algorithms, and applying it to marketing tactics or channels that you might be currently implementing. And then a really hot topic that I feel like will pop up throughout this webinar is generative AI. So generative AI it's kind of a similar, the term can honestly be used interchangeably, I feel like, in a lot of cases for marketing at least. With AI, but basically it's just another way to say that it's an AI tool that actually generates or creates something for you. So creating content, creating copy. So for example, ChatGPT, which I think a lot of folks on the call might have heard of, but that is the learning language model prompt AI tool where, you give it a prompt or you have a conversation with it and it spits back copy. That's technically generating a response or generating a conversation with you, any type of prompt that you might be giving it. So that would be an example of generative AI. So you normally would see AI in marketing. When you're using AI in marketing, it's likely a generative AI tool. So how has AI emerged into the marketing space? Why are we talking about this today? Let's dig into that a little bit further. So when it comes to the consumer side, I think we all have our own experience as consumers outside of being marketers, right, of how we might be perceiving AI in the space right now. It feels like that's all anyone has been talking about. Even if you're not in marketing, you probably, like I mentioned, had seen the buzz about, ChatGPT and people using ChatGPT to like answer text messages and things like that. So, thinking about for a second how consumers might react to your use of AI, I think is really important here. So consumers are definitely concerned about misinformation coming from AI. And I think that for businesses, this can be an encouraging stat to see, because I think a lot of the times that they feel, folks fear that AI or generative AI is going to completely take over, and all of the hard work that they've done to create from scratch their own content that's tailored to their business isn't going to seem as valuable to consumers, but actually consumers are still going to be looking for that authenticity and that clear and reliable information from your business, regardless if it's coming from AI or not. Consumers tend to still be optimistic about AI in their daily lives and their use cases, and they also believe that they understand AI. But again, as you can tell already, it's a pretty complex topic. So while consumers might feel like they understand AI to this full extent, that's how you can kind of get a leg up in your marketing by really using AI to its advantage and really digging into it and using AI in a way that consumers might not even realize that you could be using it, right? So I think that's important to keep in mind too. I just thought that was kind of interesting food for thought to get us started. So from a business standpoint and some perspectives from business owners when it comes to AI, so I would say if you're not using AI yet, you definitely want to start because the majority of businesses are looking to use it to get ahead of the competition. So if you have, one competitor in mind, or maybe you have a fiercely competitive industry in general, AI can really come to the advantage for that, and other business owners are thinking the same thing. But while you're using AI tools, and I'll get into this a little bit more in some of the further slides, but you really want to be able to prioritize the analysis, results, and recommendations that are coming from your AI tool. So whatever format that you're implementing AI, those are usually the top 3 things that you should be looking for to be high quality from that tool. And this can help you kind of gauge what types of tools you should be looking for, what types of tools could be good for your business, because this is what the majority of business owners are prioritizing. So a lot of SMBs are already implementing AI. They believe it'll improve their marketing and sales and also increase productivity. So again, if you feel like those are areas that you want to improve on in your business, AI could definitely be a huge help for that, as many businesses are already starting to think this way. When it comes to actually using AI in marketing, the types of content that has been used through generative AI tools, things that are being created through AI are, most importantly and most frequently email copy, social media images, which I think some of those use cases I already mentioned in some of those people's responses from the pop quiz, people are using it for that. You can also use it for things like blog posts and SEO content, any sort of white papers, ebooks, marketing and sales collateral, things like that. Website images and chat on your website, other ways to optimize your website as well can be huge for that. So for the majority of businesses here, just know that if you're using a generative AI tool like ChatGPT, it is the most popular platform. You also might have seen some of these others, like Copy AI is basically the same thing as ChatGPT, Jasper AI as well. There's also platforms like PepperType, Lensa, DALL-E, and Midjourney. So these are all popular tools. Some are free, some are not. So it's really going to come down to what you have bandwidth for and resources for your business. But know that if you're not on the AI train yet, it is really on the rise. More than 80% of businesses are already using AI tools, and their smaller businesses haven't yet fully invested in AI. So that can also be an opportunity for you to get ahead if you haven't yet. So the overall general sentiment from this is that I want you all to keep in mind that we can use AI for marketing. It is on the rise. It is becoming popularized amongst businesses, like a lot of the businesses that people are working with on this call today. But you have to kind of use it cautiously. So it can be really helpful, but as we saw from some of the sentiments, people want to make sure that the AI tools they're using are reliable. Consumers definitely have their guard up when it comes to AI generated content. They feel like they can read through to what's real and authentic versus what's not. So being able to strike a balance between authentic and good quality content and content that is created by AI to save you time, I think is a huge part of using AI in your marketing. So like I said, I want us to get over with the bad news first. So I'm going to jump into some of the cons when it comes to using AI in your marketing, because I want you all to keep that in mind when I talk about the ways that you can use AI in marketing. So, you know, start considering some of those risk factors that you want to just keep in the back of your head as you're implementing AI. So there are really 7 main risks that we found when using AI in marketing, and I'll touch on each of these a little bit, but primarily you want to just keep your guard up when you're using any sort of AI tool for things like machine learning bias and inaccurate information. So basically, depending on how the tool is getting data fed to it, and, you know, for example, the quality of the prompts, and also I think, you know, where it's sourcing the data, what's easiest for it to pull to actually form into whatever you're looking for it to create, can skew the results. And there have been tons of studies, we have it on our blog as well, of a situation where a generative AI tool might spit back inaccurate information to an answer of a question, potentially outdated information, potentially biased information. So just keeping an eye out for that. Basically, the overall theme here is you kind of want just a human touch to any of the AI created content that you're going to be using in your marketing. Another risk that you can definitely avoid is misapplication of AI tools. What I mean here is overusing AI tools, so you're leaning into them too much to the point where your content starts to become inaccurate and or inauthentic. It also might not always align with your brand, so you want to be mindful of that as well. Also, any sort of content that kind of blends together. So we've found, and you might even already notice this when you're out, on the SERP or your search engine results page, or if you're hopping around to different websites, don't you feel like lately you've kind of seen the same types of content or ideas over and over and over again, right? Even AI in marketing, I'll be totally honest, like that is a really hot topic and there's tons of information on it right now. So when you are using AI, you can run the risk of having your content seem very similar to all the other AI created content out there. So being mindful of any sort of like homogenous content, any sort of content that just blends together, it doesn't help your business stand out. That's definitely a risk that you can run when creating content through AI. So being mindful of that, again, adding your own twist or spin can definitely be a huge part of creating really good quality AI marketing. Loss of SEO is definitely something that you could potentially deal with as well. So again, if you're creating this run-of-the-mill content, it might not always help your organic ranking. So you want to make sure, and I'll talk about, I have a full section for just SEO in a few slides, but you want to really ensure that you're still capitalizing on the authority that your business has in the topics that you discuss on your website to help with your search engine optimization or your organic search results. So while Google is going to factor a lot of the things that AI will hit on when it's creating content, like accuracy of information, usually for the most part, AI information is accurate. I definitely want us to be mindful that there's a risk that it couldn't be, but for the most part it is, right? So Google is going to look at that AI generated content and find it as valuable for searchers and show it on the SERP. But if it doesn't have the authority or the standing, the human touch, again, as I mentioned, to prove that it's real, authentic, and quality result, it won't always show. So making sure that you're maintaining that is a huge part of this. And then these last 2 points here, legal challenges and security and privacy breaches. So kind of 2 ways to look at these last 2 points. So if your business is, in a certain industry where you have a lot of different company policies in place when it comes to the copy or the content that you create. For example, I remember working with a lot of finance businesses that had very specific guidelines, both internally and on platforms like Google Ads and so on, about the types of text that they can use in their ads. So that's one example where you could run into legal challenges when using AI, because it's not always going to be thinking through those types of things. And then any sort of like security and privacy breaches. So again, if you're using AI to, help manage a list of contacts and create an automated email campaign, you want to make sure that you have things like cookies consent banners, which I have as an example over here on the left, to just make sure that any of the data that you're feeding into AI to create like an automated campaign, as I said, is approved upon in first-party data that your organization legally owns. So as I talked about those risks, here are some examples of applying those risks and why you wouldn't want to use AI in these types of situations. So think about the main kind of takeaway with those risks, right, is that AI isn't always thinking through things contextually like a human would, right? So you might consider, your legal or ramifications when you're creating content. You might consider, how to make your business stand out from other businesses that are writing the same content. You might be thinking about that, but a AI tool isn't always going to consider that. So when you're looking to create your marketing plan for 2024 or something like that, AI could maybe get you started, but that's really where you need that human touch or that expert in your corner to really make sure that you're on the right track. Same for things like organizing your Google Ads account structure. So while AI can be really helpful for managing your campaigns and optimizing once you're already built out, you don't want to just solely rely on AI to structure out like a search ads account from scratch, where it's plugging in a ton of different smart campaigns that, run on autopilot and you lose control, right? So you want to be able to make sure that you have as much control as possible over your structure, so that way that you don't run into any headaches down the line. Keyword research as well. Again, AI can give you a starting point for keyword research, and we do touch on this a little bit on our blog, but at the end of the day, I really want you all to have the control over your keywords as well, since it's the bread and butter of both your organic marketing and your paid marketing. You need to know your core terms, or your money terms, as I love to call them. So AI might assume that certain terms are related to your industry, but if you have a super niche market, you might find that other specific or long tail keywords would actually be better for your business. Website development as well. So while AI can help emphasize some of the features on your website, it can help accentuate some of the features on your website. For example, customer service, right? You could use a live chatbot, AI chatbot for your website. That's great. But using it to completely build out or develop your website isn't always a good bet, because again, it's not always going to think about the human user experience and what might be best for your consumer journey. Also, reporting and analytics. Again, you want to be able to have a control over your reports and have reports that make sense to you. I find that AI tools that do help generate reports can often overcomplicate it. So if you have just a few key metrics that you want to keep in mind, find your own way to track those types of metrics rather than relying on AI created reports or analyses. And then also lastly, any sort of competitor analysis, again, because it's just not going to think through any sort of competitor analysis contextually. So you really want to take the lead on that as well. So now that I kind of got through some of the ugly when it comes to AI, let's talk about the beauty of AI. It really can be a great tool for your business. So that's why we like to consider all angles when factoring AI into our marketing. So when can you use AI in marketing? I just talked about all these things you shouldn't do, but you probably are like, but I still want to use AI to put time back into my day, save me some time, save me some brainstorming sessions. You definitely can use AI for that. In fact, AI is great for generating copy for marketing assets. It can give you marketing tool recommendations. So if you hopped into a generative AI tool and you wanted, a really quick, clear comparison on which tools are best to, provide me with keyword research options or something like that, you could definitely ask it that and get some results back, or get price comparisons, things like that. It can also help with content ideation. So if you're unsure of what you might want to post on your social media page or on your blog that week, you could hop into a generative AI tool and ask it that type of question. What are landscaping businesses like mine, posting on their blog? Something like that is an example of how you could get some ideas for similar types of content, and then you can branch off from there. So again, kind of a starting point, and then you go and you take that idea and you make it your own. Also, any sort of like shortcuts or formulas. So while you don't want to use it for your entire web development strategy, if you're looking for a quick way to organize data for your customers or something like that. Can definitely be helpful for that. This is a really cool one that I think is a really good example of using AI in marketing, generating customer surveys. This can give you tons of insights. Customer surveys are great to improve and grow your business and also keep your current customer base engaged. So oftentimes folks have found, if you've ever created a survey before, it's kind of time consuming, no matter how you slice it, because you're thinking of those questions and you're thinking of meaningful questions and then also meaningful responses and how you're going to manage that. AI can help you with a lot of that by creating that for you. And then lastly, chatbot ideas. So using chat to, using AI to create chat prompts or chat responses is a really great way to lean into it as well and help streamline your customer experience. So let's go through a few more examples in depth of where you could use AI in marketing. So for email, of course, AI can be used to create automated email campaigns. So it can fire off, to a large list of recipients, a nice curated email automatically. So you can kind of set it and forget it. Of course, you're gonna test it and set it up, and then you could schedule it out so that way it sends out and you don't have to worry about it. It can also give you ideas for A/B tests. So if you have, a certain type of email that you've ran for a long time and you just want to try something new with it, you could feed that into an AI tool to get some slight variations that you could possibly test. And then it also can help you automate those tests as well. And then of course, again, the email copy, the email content creation part of it. It can also help automatically personalize your emails. So, segmenting out your audience and, adding in the first name of the recipient or sending out a certain email depending on where they are in the funnel, as you see in that image example on the right. That can really help with your email strategy overall, and AI can definitely do that for you. And while I said that you don't want to lean in fully to AI for all of your reporting and analytics, it can help you with any predictive analysis. So, when you are running these emails and you're getting data back and metrics back, you can feed that into AI to structure out, any sort of data and then be able to make a data back decision from there of what you might want to try next. So for content and SEO, AI plays a huge part in this. And as you're kind of catching on probably at this point, the majority of when you'll be using AI in marketing is for content creation or ideation. So any sort of like generative AI is usually, like I mentioned, the majority of what you'll see when it comes to AI in marketing. So you can use AI similar to how you would use it for emails. So blog post ideas, which can really help boost your SEO. So if you struggle to maintain a blog and post on it frequently on your website, this can be a really great tool for you for that, because you'll be able to think of more ideas more quickly and create the blog post probably more quickly so that you can build up more of those blog pages, which eventually just helps your site overall. And that will help your search engine optimization. Also for any sort of like email subject line. So again, another example of how you could create some content with that. Other things like marketing slogans, hashtags, any sort of fun phrases like that, AI can definitely be helpful for that, especially because in those cases, it is usually a little bit cheesy, or you'll find that a lot of businesses in your industry probably are using kind of the same types of slogans, same types of hashtags. In that case, it's okay because you want something catchy, something your audience is going to recognize. So it can be really helpful for that. Again, back to the blog post thoughts there, not only could it give you ideas, it could also spit back an outline for you, which can really help streamline your blog writing and just your article writing in general on your website pages. Social post copy, social post images, we saw that was already really frequently implemented by businesses back when I was going through those stats. Any sort of business descriptions. Now, of course, be careful with this one because now we're talking about the livelihood of your business when we're talking about your business description. But there are a lot of platforms and places where you need to feed in a business description. For example, your Facebook business page, your Google business profile, any sort of directory listings that you might have. They usually all have a spot for a business description, and sadly, most of them do have a variation in the amount of characters that they allow. So maybe you craft your own unique, really take some time with it yourself to craft a unique business description, and then you could feed that in to get slight variations to just mix it up on your different platforms and profiles. And then lastly, any sort of newsletters that you might send out or have in person if you're a brick and mortar operation as well, can help you with newsletter topics. I think this one is definitely a big one for businesses too. It can be really hard to think of them every month or whatever your cadence is for your newsletters. So that can be helpful as well. But with all of this, I did want to highlight here, I had mentioned this a little bit earlier when I was talking about content creation and loss of SEO when it comes to AI. So while AI can help you create all of this content, and it does provide that expertise, that trust and authoritativeness that Google looks for when it's looking at the ranking factors for your organic SEO efforts, I want you all to keep in mind that the experience part is where you come into play when it comes to your AI. So while your AI can create content that has that expertise, that trust, that authoritativeness, your human touch or being able to author that content yourself is going to add in that experience, that additional E that Google has started looking at within the last year or so to help rank really good content. So basically, Google is looking for some thought leadership here. It's looking for, you know, the type of person that's going to have that authoritativeness, but also the experience, has that real life firsthand personal experience. So adding in, you know, your own personal touch to your content, being able to, you know, author yourself or put yourself as the author for your content is a really big part of this. Another huge use case for AI is chat. So a stat that I reference a lot on the blog and on these webinars is that over 40% of your customers are going to expect chat on your website at this point. So if you don't have live chat on your website, now is definitely the time to implement it, and you can do that much more easily when you're using AI for chat. So the beauty of that is, of course, when you're using AI for chat, you don't have to monitor it all the time, but it will be monitored all the time, essentially, right? So that way you have customer support 24/7, which is huge for a lot of businesses, and also meets the growing needs of consumers in their buyer's journey these days. Also, it can help you manage and organize leads. So if you are getting a ton of chat responses or a ton of people chatting into your business, AI can also track that and store that for you and organize that for you so you're able to follow up on those leads much more easily in the future. And it can also help you draft prompts for AI for your chat. So one example that I love to use is when you have a chat bot on your site, you know, don't wait until someone wants to click into that chat bubble and chat your business. Be proactive with it and have the chat open first with some prompts, right? So it might say, hey, I see you're on the site. Are you looking for information about booking an appointment or want to follow up on a past appointment, something like that. You know, AI can help you draft that and help you plug that into your tool. And then over here on the right, we have some examples from our own chat solutions. So again, just an example of how, you know, chat AI, an AI-powered chat solution like ours, you know, can just streamline your whole process from start to finish. So you'll see the AI bot speaks with the customer. It also will notify you on the best, on the overall interaction, and then it'll also give you insights into your data from all the chats that you receive. And then most importantly, one other use case for AI in marketing that I think folks hit on a lot is in search advertising. So of course, we see Google rolling out its own AI capabilities, right? So some examples of Google's AI would be like in performance max campaigns, it's using generative AI to help users create their own content. So any type of product picture or any type of ad copy, things like that, Google often uses its own AI algorithms to create that for you right from within the platform. But beyond that, you can implement an AI tool to help manage your overall search marketing campaign outside of the Google Ads platforms to help you just optimize your budgets overall. So for example, with Local IQ's cross-media optimization AI technology, it's constantly checking in real time your bids to help you maintain your budget across all your different campaigns, across all your different paid platforms, so that you're getting the most bang for your buck across all of your different ads. Another example of how Google or AI in Google Ads or other types of search marketing can be helpful is for keyword targeting. So if you are unsure of which keyword is really best for your business just yet, of course you don't want to lean into AI entirely for your keyword for the keyword list that you want to use. You want to pick that out yourself. But once you have that keyword list, you can use AI to know which types of core terms you should ideally use in your ads. And you can also use it for any types of match type switching or turning on and off keywords. So for example, with like an automated rule, right? So you could have any underperforming keywords automatically be paused if they haven't brought in a click in 30 days or something like that. And Google and our own proprietary technology does that automatically for you. For example, we add in negative keywords for any sort of brand, non-branded terms that aren't related to your business, and so on. So that's just one example of what you could do. I mean, you don't have to do that. It's an option. And then lastly is asset creation. I did allude to this a little bit earlier with the example of Google's own AI tools, but again, there are a ton of different AI tools out there that can help you create your text ads, create your display ads, your video ads, and so on. And display and media rich types of advertising is really on the rise. So if you are relying solely on text-based ads in your search marketing, definitely look into ways that AI can help you build out quickly any sort of like visual aspects for your search marketing strategy. I know that can be daunting for a lot of businesses, can feel really time consuming to create, for example, a video ad. But if you use an AI tool to help kind of curate that, it can make it a lot faster and create a high quality video for your business in a lot less time. And I did want to pull in this quote from our president, Chris Cho, about how AI can be implemented in digital marketing in general, but also in search marketing specifically. So I know you all can read across the screen, so I won't touch on every quote here, but I do want to highlight as you're reading this that the proprietary cross-media optimization technology that I was talking about for search engine marketing. So this is just one example of how we use AI to help optimize your search marketing campaigns. So again, using that machine learning algorithm to use that makes data-backed decisions based on your historical performance to help optimize and get you the most bang for your buck or the most out of your budget, and help you reach your customers in the most effective way possible. So again, increasing results and focusing on the customers that you're gaining from your search ads is really where this technology comes into play. So again, like I had mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, all of this will be recorded. So if you want to sit on this quote a little bit longer, you'll get the materials in your inbox later today and can see the recording on YouTube later as well. So definitely check it out if you want to spend a little bit more time with this quote, but just another mention of how AI can really impact your digital marketing for the better. So I know that was a ton of information, right? There's never enough time. I know these webinars are a full hour long, but still I feel like it's never enough time to cover such an in-depth topic, right? We could talk about it all day. So if that felt like a lot for you, totally fine, totally normal. I'll round out a couple of the main points that I want to get across to everyone here. So I did talk about a lot of different use cases for AI in marketing. So I want you to consider all of your options here. The AI landscape is rapidly advancing. So there's tons of new ways that are coming out to use AI in marketing. So be sure to embrace that. Have an open mind. It's going to become more and more popular and more frequently used by your competition. So if you don't feel comfortable with AI yet, now is definitely the time to do so. Totally fine if you don't feel comfortable with it yet, but try and have that open mind and be open to testing it or dipping your toes into the water there. Also, something that I think I hit on a lot is if you do choose to use AI in your marketing, which is a great idea, use it with caution, right? So make sure that you're regularly checking in on the performance of your AI created assets. Make sure that there is a human there doing the final editing, the final proofreading. Those types of things really should be done by a trusted person within your business so that you know that you're getting the best results possible and putting out the best quality content and marketing assets for your customers. So whether that be from an expert or a business marketing partner and you don't have time and you to proofread or edit, that's okay. You could lean into something like that to help make sure that you're making the most out of your AI solutions. And also, lastly, be ready to test. It might be a little bit of a trial and error, but that's okay. It's going to be kind of a learning experience to implement AI into your marketing because it's probably something you've never done before if you are just starting out, and that's fine. But if you are already using it and you want to try out some new ways, don't be afraid to change or flex if you're not seeing the results you want. One thing that I say on every single webinar, and I'll say it now, is if there's one thing that I want you all to take away from this is always, 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 always have a backup plan, right? So what I mean by that is the space is ever changing. And we saw that with all of the stats that I covered, all of the different use cases and what to do, what not to do with AI, right? It's always going to be constantly changing and going to be unique to your business needs. So as your needs tend to change and grow with your business growth, so should your AI strategy. So be thinking about, if I, try out this new AI technology, or if I want to try out this new tool, what am I going to do if it doesn't bring me the results that I want? Do I try a different prompt next? Do I try a different approach or a different strategy? And then if it does bring me the results that I'm looking for, that's great too, but then where do I go from there? So always be thinking about how you can improve or pivot, right? So if I am getting the results that I want out of my AI-powered marketing strategies, what do I do next? Do I put more budget into that? Do I try and build that out a little bit more? Do I let it ride out and just collect that performance for now and then scale back? It really is going to be up to you. It's totally fine however route you take it, but as long as you're thinking ahead to those types of situations, that's going to make all the difference. So again, I know that was a ton of information, and I mean, I've been in the marketing game for a long time, and even I felt like this was a lot, and it was a lot for me to learn as well. So if you have more questions, and I'm seeing a lot of questions come in about unique specific situations, and you want an expert to just really answer those questions on an individual level, I highly recommend hitting yes on that poll that just took over your screen. So again, I'm going to launch that poll. It's going to stay up on your screen for the remainder of the webinar. And we're going to go ahead and switch into the audio portion of the webinar, so you can fill out that poll and just sit back and relax as you listen into the remainder for the Q&A. But basically, this is just another opportunity to get your questions answered after the webinar at a time of your choosing, to speak with an expert one-on-one. So again, for anyone typing into the chat, like any sort of specific questions unique to their business or their industry, of course, I can't answer all of them today as much as I wish I could. So I would highly recommend hitting yes there for that. So going to leave that up as I dive into the Q&A. And there are tons of questions coming in, and if you have more questions that you want to add in, be sure to send them over now for the last 10 minutes or so, and try and answer as many questions as possible. Okay, so I'll start off with this question from Robbie. Thank you, Robbie, for this one. This is a fun one. What are the benefits of having a chatbot versus a person when interacting with consumers? Really great question here. And I think there's going to be pros and cons to both. And you're going to find this a lot with the Q&A sessions. I feel like I say this a lot to you all, but I mean it. There really is no right or wrong answer when it comes to digital marketing. There's always just different ways and perspectives that you could approach something. So for this, when I say, there is no right or wrong answer, you could use a real person if you wanted to. Of course, that's going to lead to potentially more cost to your business for, full benefits and, employment of a customer support person versus an AI chatbot, for example. But then, depending on the quality and the bandwidth that you have to monitor that chatbot, you might find, better quality results coming from a person, but again, that's going to depend on how well the person is trained. So it's really going to be a balancing act of how you think your consumers will resonate with any sort of AI generated content. More questions coming in, tons and tons of questions. A lot of folks asking for AI sites or tools. Of course, we have our own suite of solutions that implement AI, so definitely check that out. But as I mentioned earlier too, you could use AI to, answer that question for you of, what is the best tool for AI drawing or whatever it might be. So try that with a generative AI tool and see what it spits back for you. I think that would be a good kind of practice round for it. Okay, this is a great question. So Rich asked, if one is pulling content from industry media pages, how can the AI avoid copyright infringements? So that's basically one of the main issues with generative AI right now. And that's part of the reason why, there's trials going on with platforms like Google, and so on, is because of the future of AI and what that means for what is or is not copywriting. So For example, a lot of SEO experts are feeling like the generative AI search experience from Google that pulls information from written published authors and then spits it back out as if it's its own curated result feels almost like it's, again, taking that or, hitting those copyright infringements. However, that's not yet to be determined. So AI does still generate its own version or own spin of whatever you give it. So it is technically not really copywriting, but that is a really good point and a valid concern. So that's why, again, I like to really reiterate that you want to be monitoring and giving your own unique and personalized spin to that. Great questions. So James asked, should we be worried about AI marketing to AI users over human users? So of course, there is that whole question of, well, is AI going to take over all of our jobs? Is AI, going to give us the best results possible? And that is part of the risk that you run when using AI. And that's why I talked about considering the risks. At the end of the day, I did mention there's still nothing smarter than your own personal ability to read through types of content contextually, and AI still hasn't been able to do that yet, so I don't think we have anything to worry about for now, but definitely a great question. Tons more questions coming out here. So Jill asks, when you search for photos from a generative AI tool, how can you be sure that you have the rights to use the photo in social media? So anything that would be like spit back from a generative AI tool, like image-wise, is usually based off like free or stock images that already have the ability to be used. Or a lot of the times they give you the option to upload your own AI or your own images. So that's a really big thing that I recommend to folks, like for example, using AI to create certain types of product images. You would be uploading the image of the product and then AI would generate the photo for you from there. A lot of the times it also creates it itself, so it's not necessarily like a photo taken from something else. Great questions here. We have time for just a couple more. All right. Again, seeing a lot of questions coming in for specific industries like real estate, doctors, things like that. Of course, any sort of industry, that again might see some restrictions on, different platforms, for example, on Google Ads, real estate, finance, any sort of like healthcare related industry is going to hit its limitations when it comes to AI use. And that's why, again, if you have specific questions for your industry, definitely hit yes on that poll there. But if you can definitely try it out, it's just, again, you need to be kind of thinking about those risks that I mentioned and have that ability to edit through your AI created content. Great, so tons more questions coming in. I don't have time to answer all of them. Again, I wish that I could, but as you could tell, I could probably talk about this all day. But with that being said, thank you all so much for joining. I hope that you found this helpful. Be sure to keep your eyes peeled for more webinars. We're doing 2 in October, so keep your eyes peeled for those. And again, you'll have access to the recording and the materials in your inbox later today. You can also find our webinar recordings on the WordStream and LocaliQ YouTube channels. So thank you all again. Great questions. I wish I could answer everyone, but again, I want to give us some time back into our day. I know this was a ton of information and a really in-depth presentation. So, take some time to digest with it. Think through some of the use cases that AI could be for your own use in your business. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.